And if you're trying to get your hands on this antibiotic called Amoxicillin, really popular, right? You might be having a hard time because the FDA is saying there is a shortage. They're putting almost 24 amoxicillin products in that category because there's more demand for it. And here's why. This is something that's mainly used for stuff like strep throat, right? Ear infections, respiratory infections, bacterial infections. But it's also used to treat secondary infections caused by diseases that are viral. RSV, for example, COVID, the common viral cold. All viral infections that have really surged this fall. Zinhle Essamuah has more.
When the doctor came in to give us a diagnosis, she said, just so you know, there is an amoxicillin shortage.
There's a major drug shortage, alarming providers and parents like Stacy Ritchie.
I went straight to my normal pharmacy. They were out. Headed to the second pharmacy. They were out.
Today, amoxicillin, one of the most commonly used antibiotics, is hard to find. The Food and Drug Administration issuing a notice about a shortage of the drug. The American Society of Health System Pharmacists saying 3 major amoxicillin manufacturers are reporting shortages on products, including chewable tablets, capsules and powder, or suspension drugs, typically prescribed to children. Stacy is a parent of 3 kids in Kansas City, Missouri. Her daughter, Sophia Ritchie, diagnosed with strep throat.
I would have drove to another state to get the amoxicillin if I absolutely had to.
How did that feel as a parent to be worried about whether or not you could provide medicine to your child?
It was scary.
Hugh Chansey, a pharmacist and owner of Chansey Drugs, runs 6 pharmacies in southern Georgia.
Not having amoxicillin this time of year is a big deal. You're around holidays and children are getting sick.
He and other pharmacists began flagging shortages back in October.
We can only get 3 bottles a day.
How many bottles a day do you typically get when there's not a shortage?
Well, normally it would be unlimited. We could get whatever we needed.
In a prior statement to NBC, the FDA said that they're aware of some intermittent supply interruptions of amoxicillin products in the U.S. and that there are a number of factors that can cause or contribute to drug shortages that are out of the FDA's control. As for the 3 major amoxicillin manufacturers, in a statement to NBC, UK pharmaceutical company Hickman said, in part, "We understand the importance of this medication and are looking at ways to increase production."
I'm really praying that my children don't get sick again while we have this shortage.
Zinhle is joining us now. And Zinhle, the big question people probably have is like, okay, so when's this shortage going to get better? The FDA has not said. So what are the alternatives for patients if they're talking to their doctors about this? What's the other option here?
Yeah, Hallie, that's the big question. And there are alternatives to amoxicillin. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce those names of those medicines. But if you are in need of that medication, you should ask your doctor. And remember that if the issue is not bacterial, antibiotics will likely not be needed. So that's significant. But still, as we heard from that pharmacist, right now in this cold, flu, RSV, just general sick season, the need is high, Hallie.
You talked about how pharmacists flagged this in October. It is, mid-November. Is there concern that the FDA should have acted sooner, or is this considered an appropriate timeline for something on this scale?
Yeah, so the pharmacist I talked to, who runs 6 pharmacies in southern Georgia, says he was flagging this as far as 6 weeks back, and he's attributing it to supply chain issues. We've talked about supply chain issues in a lot of different sectors, and medicine and healthcare is no different. Of course, that's a larger systemic issue, so it will take time to resolve that. But in the short term, a lot of parents are taking matters into their own hands, visiting pharmacies, and hoping for change. Hallie?
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.